in the world, and by extension the internet, it is an increasingly competitive place. Think about it. If only a couple of years ago there were about 5,000 apps in total on Apple Store, iTunes Store, submitted each month for approval. Today, there are 5,000 apps being submitted for approval daily. So you can see the sheer scale of the quantity of applications we're starting to use via our mobile device and through the internet. Microblogging services are exploding. Take Tumblr, for example, a tool that we might hear a little bit more about later today. It alone features 420 million users and 217 million blogs. Does anyone have an idea how many websites are out there? A guess. Someone throw a number. 19 what? Billion, million, 100? Billion. It's way too many. Way too many, but I think a little less than 19 billion. Others? 10 million. A little bit more than that. One more try. Anyone? How many websites are there on average? How many? How many? 50. Not quite. Actually, there's 1 billion websites out there in the world and counting, and that's quite a lot of websites, right? So think about it. Every website is generating noise, right? Every blogger out there is generating content. Every person is generating social media content. How do you cut out through all this noise? How do you stand yourself apart? And you're part of the fashion industry. We know how fast things change in the fashion industry. What's trending today is not what's going to be trending tomorrow. We live in a very fast-paced society. So I have a question for you here. What I'd like for you to do is visit this website. Open your browser and type polev.com/purecookie000. For those in the back that can see, feel free to come up and take a look at the link. So you have a question in front of you if you type the link correctly. And I ask you the following question. Why blogging matters to fashion industry? Take a quick 10, 15, 20 seconds. Think about this question. Obviously, you have been thinking about this question. This is why you're here in this workshop, after all, and this is why you're here for the Summer Expo. And this is why this is your major. You're majoring something that is part of the fashion industry. But I want you to also think about why blogging matters to fashion industry. And in one sentence, maybe two at the most. I don't want you to write an essay. Think about it as a one sentence or two sentence response. Go ahead, type out their response and hit enter. So let me read a couple of the responses that we have received so far. Blogging matters because it keeps us up to date on the fast-changing fashion trends. Do we agree with that? Yeah, absolutely. What else keeps us up to date with the fashion industry? News sites, right? Social media. It's another form of communication for designers to put out their work on the internet, to reach out to even more people because the technology is so advanced. So there's a couple keywords here that I saw. Communication, tool, reaching out to people, and then it's a technology outcome. Blogging matters to the fashion industry because it provides quick and easy way for people to see and read about what's trending. Now that's twice when I've heard the word trend and blogging. But raise your hand if you go and read blogs just to learn how to do something. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 hands. So it's not only about trends, right? It's only about learning to do something new, gain a new skill. it helps me keep in touch with the fashion world and keep up with current trends. Again, a recurring theme here. Pay attention to this one. Blogging requires minimal effort in comparison to, say, standing on a blog in Midtown or Manhattan and shouting at crowds. And can reach large crowds with just the click of a button. Agree, in comparison to standing on a blog, it is definitely less effort, but it is still a lot of work. So there's 3 things that you should absolutely remember that you should not be blogging. You should not be thinking about blogging for the following 3 reasons. 1 is fame. Do not expect your blog to be famous overnight. It is a process just like fashion design, just like a good writing piece, just like a good product design and styling picture. It requires dedication, hard work, passion, and intense professional will and focus. And if through this process of blogging, somehow, and we'll figure out what that means, you will get a little famous, then to me that's a combination of hard work, good timing, and a little bit of luck. You definitely should not blog if your main goal is money. Again, this is not the right way to set yourself up for blogging, because you will be setting yourself up for failure. Blogging should be about passion and the drive first, and money second. So similar to others that have created businesses online and empires from nothing, if you love something that you do, money will follow. Keep that in mind. And trust me, there's going to be a lot of initial failure before you even get to that point. And finally, you should not blog expecting lots and lots of traffic. Why is that? Well, organic audience requires time to grow. Everyone knows why there's a big organic movement in the produce department. No one wants to eat things that grow in steroids. Anything that grows fast, well, doesn't really satisfy your appetite. But things that are organic in terms of audience growth, they will stick with you, they will be your advocates, they will be your community, they will back you up when the need comes. So by focusing on growing that organic community step by step, however slow, you'll benefit that much more than by just maybe going out there and buying your audience in bulk. That's not the best approach. So when you're thinking about blogs, what comes to mind to you? What is a blog? Yes?
I'm Karen Walker from Nebraska, but I think it's an informative opinion.
All right, so a blog is an informative opinion. It tells a story about you through a media like YouTube. What else?
I think it's a type of
Your name
communication.
and where you're from.
My name is Jennifer from Pennsylvania.
Awesome. Welcome, Jennifer. So, tell me.
Blog for me is it's a way of communication. But and nowadays, you know the newspapers, the television, but the computer, the technology, I guess.
So Jennifer nailed that answer. Correct. A blog is a type of communication, and what it communicates and how it communicates and on which platform it communicates, all that is just detail. But in the essence of the core of what the blog is, it's a communication tool. So within the fashion industry, whether you are a fashion design student or merchandising student, styling student or journalism student, think about a multitude of ways you can utilize blogs. You can tell your story, right? You can talk about how your inspirations for your collections. What else? You can interview industry, or you can interview your colleagues. You can talk about trends, and you can talk about things that bother you, what's wrong with the industry, and other things. Yes?
I'm Karen, but in one of my classes, I researched a blog just for a certain type of material that I couldn't find.
Sure. Research, you can use that for research, absolutely. Well, one of the ways that I like to kind of twist some of these notions is that blogging should be a little bit less about you and a little bit more about setting yourselves as experts in the industry. And there's a difference. The way you guys are thinking about blogs to me sounds more like a personal journal, a hobby, something that you can do at home, and you don't need to pay $3,000 to take a class at the academy to learn how to write about what inspires you. You really don't. Instead, you can come here and learn how to create a tool that will position you as experts in the industry, because that's what you're becoming slowly, from education and the training that you're getting here from our fantastic faculty from around the world. And also, by designing that particular type of blog, you can then use it to land an internship, or to land a job, or to land a client or a gig. Because no longer people will look at your blog and think, oh, it's too personal, I can't relate to it. Or it's not telling me something that the industry really truly cares about, or the bigger issues that everyone is currently discussing. So I just want to show you a couple examples of outcomes of student works that have been produced in the blogging course. Here's just one example. This is obviously a journalism student's blog. A little bit more writing, a little bit less pictures in terms of the balance. But you can see that their interview stories, their designer profiles, their reporting on events that took place around Academy of Art, opinion editorial pieces raising questions like, does the pace of fashion industry leave room for creative process? So there's a variety of topics and themes that one could, thank you. Can you see still, you can still see me? There's a variety of topics and themes a blog could cover. At the same time, here's another blog by a styling student whose focus was on beauty. And look how different it is, right? But let me just put them side to side. In essence, the professionalism of either blog is not different from each other. Wouldn't you agree? They're both well designed, well balanced in terms of the way the visuals work together with the words, the topics, etc. Obviously, you can tell this student is a fashion journalism, so there's a lot of reviews and things like that. And this student was interested in beauty products, and that's the type of content that lives there. And here's the YouTube video. Someone mentioned YouTube as one of the ways to promote yourselves. But what can you see when you compare these two student blogs? What are some of the criteria or sort of the look and feel of these two blogs that you would say appeal to you? Yes?
I'm May. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I see, like, when you compare them, the styling student has more pictures and more color to theirs, whereas the journalism student has just more words. And me being a styling student, obviously, I'm more attracted to the pictures. And hers, I mean, I can't really tell from like the other works, but
Sure.
hers seem to have like more like opinions, like basically talking about how like whereas the journalism is more reviewed. So.
Okay. And we'll come back to that, why that is the difference. Yes.
I see in the format's very pristine. Everything is very nicely done as far as the columns, and all the pictures are professional. There are no amateur shots. Everything is high, like, has a high grade of resolution. So it just has a sense of professionalism all around.
So there are two. Now we've discovered kind of two types of blogs by now. One, sort of the personal one, which, this one, I'll say, is on you. You can do this on your own. But what we're going to focus is on the professional type of blog. And that's the one that you're currently seeing on the screen. And what you mentioned, the way the information is organized, and the pictures that are curated for those types of blogs, that's what sets it apart, often from kind of a personal amateur type of blog and professional blogs. Others, have you noticed anything else from, yes, first impressions? Where are you from?
Vienna. I'm from Houston.
Houston, awesome. Welcome.
Well, I think the first thing that I noticed about the one on the left is that it actually has options to share or links to other social medias, whereas the other one does not.
Correct. I see that you see these options right here, right? So that's a kind of a difference in the type of template used to put this blog together. So, and they're both based on which platform? Tumblr. You can tell that from the link above. And Tumblr offers hundreds of thousands of different themes that you could choose to design your blog. So that's just a choice of the blogger.
Hi, I'm Taylor from Houston as well. So as a journalism student, I kind of think that they go hand in hand, because when I'm writing, I want to know details about the photos that I'm reviewing or details about the show. And so looking at the beauty blog, I see who the stylist was, who the photographer was, who the designer was, so that it's like research material for me for when I'm writing my reviews. So
Sure.
I think they actually go hand in hand. As different as they are, they kind of need each other.
Correct. I'm not putting these next to each other to say one is better than the other, and I hope you understand that. Instead, I'm showing that wherever you come from in terms of your particular majors, your blog's feel and look, the information on it will differ, right? You all have different interests. You all have different majors. And because of that, there's still some things that are similar. And that is, one, the professional approach to blogging, right? Everything that goes live in terms of headlines, in terms of text, pictures, is well researched, well organized, and put together into a cohesive story. Two, that information is well packaged. Look at these websites. They put this information together into presentable blogs. So you obviously wouldn't feel shy sharing those links with your potential employers, right? If you're going to go apply for an internship or a job, you would take that link and you would put that in your cover letter and you say, here's my blog. And you can stand by that. You can be proud of that. So this is kind of the final outcome, but how do we get here? And this is really the question that we have to ask ourselves. But we have to begin with this question. What is the difference between a blog and a website? So now we know what blog is, a communication tool. What's the difference between a blog and a website? And I want you to think in terms of website like, a corporate website. Nike website versus Nike blog. Academy of Art University main website versus Fashion School Daily. Yes, we'll start with you.
Megan from Detroit. I think the difference between like a blog and a website is that a website has more content for everyone. Like if you like fashion and another person likes music, that website might have something for someone personally. Whereas a blog I feel like has just one type of subject. I guess if that makes sense.
So let's put this together. Website versus blog. So you say there's more content and it's one topic. Do folks agree with that? Think about the last blog you visited. Was there only one topic covered on that blog? Even yourself?
Not like one topic. It was more so just like a general subject. Like I visit like a lot of fashion blogs, and let's say like my boyfriend doesn't like fashion, like he obviously wouldn't go to that blog. Whereas a website can have something for everybody, and it has more information on something.
What would you expect from a Nordstrom blog? Nordstrom, what would you expect from that blog?
Customer service.
Or fashion, right? I mean, it's a department store, merchandising product. So you look through it, you see fashion, you see things, and then boom, what do you see? A recipe. And then if you keep scrolling, you see some merchandising, you see various things, and then as you keep going, you will see more food and lifestyle, etc. So there, even though it might be one topic in a way, or like one theme, what it is that Nordstrom is doing in order to, why are they writing about food? What are they trying to do? What she said. Louder.
I was thinking in terms of a one-stop shop.
One-stop shop. Not quite. Can Nordstrom compete with big, media company like CNN? No, I mean they don't have tens of thousands of people producing interesting content for reading. What they can do is create specific content for who? Now we're getting there. Target audience. So target audience, just like for you, as you're going to be designers and publishers one day and stylists, you're going to work with your target clients. And similar here for blogging, you got to know your target audience. So the biggest difference between the website and blog are the target audience. So the target audience for blog would be who? It's a tricky question because you got to ask me, well, what the company is, who it is we're writing for. Yeah. So I would say blog's target audience depends on what it is that you're trying to do, right, with the blog. So if you are Nordstrom, your aim is to retain your clients, promote your products, cultivate relationship with your client, with your store visitors, be the one to promote new products and announce some new partnerships, etc. So target audience for, let's see if we're going to keep the Nordstrom as an example. Target audience for their blog would be consumers, existing, and prospective. people searching for products. I'm going to very quickly touch upon what do we mean by people that are searching for products. Well, remember one of the first things I said, log into your computers and open google.com. Why is that? It's always fun when you're looking for something, that's where you would go, right? You would go to a search engine, whether it is Bing or Yahoo or google.com. So when people are searching for something, for products, etc., most of the time, the way these posts are designed on blogs, they might end up as part of the search results for people, right? So if you might be typing, hey, I want the latest top by this designer, Isaac Mizrahi, and they might be on Nordstrom. And if the Nordstrom blog covered it, then people would have found it. So consumers existing in perspective, people searching for products, others, wherever that might be. For website, that's a little bit different. Who would want to go to a Nordstrom's website directly, not necessarily to their blog? So, come again? Buyer, sure, e-commerce folks. So buyers. Say it again. What kind of information would they be looking?
Even careers.
Sure. Looking for store information. Good point.
Product.
Some product information, maybe right here. So you see, maybe the website is a little bit more in terms of direct sales engagement, direct information. Here we're really about cultivating a relationship. So this is, in a way, when you're going to go back and review some of your answers, why blogging matters, no longer it is really about staying on top of things, but I wish someone said, it makes me feel being a part of a community. Because that's what, in a way, you really do feel deep down by making you go always to the same source of information. It's not because it's the best source of information. At the end of the day, it's the same information everywhere. But it's because you feel like you're getting the information from the voice you trust. So, okay. Let's keep on going. I'll give you a couple differences in terms of website and blog as well. Content on website tends to be, on average, more static. Although this is changing now, it still is the case for many, many websites. But content on blogs updated far more frequently. Websites, as all of you have noticed, are transactional. Come, find the product, buy the product, leave the website, right? And blogs, in essence, are interactive. You read a post, you feel angry about something there, you leave a comment. Or you read the post, you loved something about it, you leave a comment. So it allows you to be more interactive. Websites tend to communicate mostly about products or services. Blogs, on the other hand, are really about information and education. And it doesn't mean we're informing or educating about these products. Instead, a blog might say, let me educate you about sustainability. And here's a variety of products for you to consider. And maybe one of those products might be a Nordstrom's product. But a Nordstrom website will just say, here are the Nordstrom products, right? And they wouldn't talk about the issue of sustainability. So this is kind of some of the key differences between a website and a blog. Good thing, though, is that they're starting to merge. You also know there's different blogging platforms, right? There's WordPress and Tumblr. You can have it on Squarespace and Weebly. And also there, the platforms start to kind of emulate each other. So one kind of advice for the future, don't stress about where your blog lives in terms of the platform. Save yourself some time. Pick any platform you feel most comfortable with. And then two, when it comes to designing your blog, go for the simplest approach. A grid, something minimal, geometric, easy to navigate. And why is that? Because when it comes to blogging, it's really the content that is going to define who you are. So if you produce interesting content, or those folks that are online, if you're going to produce interesting content, your blog will thrive. And it doesn't matter where it lives or how simple it might look. It really will come down to what it is that you're putting out in terms of content. So existence of blogs over time has allowed for a great democratization of the internet media. Just think about it. Only like 10 years ago, it was the large publishing companies like Warner Brothers and CNN and New York Times and were really in charge of creating, good blogs, massive kind of content producing blogs. But now it could be anyone. It could be you, the Grumpy Cat, the Mars rover. They all have blogs. How incredible is that? You no longer need BBC or CNN to break the news story. Some of the stories broke out because someone blogged about it. Blogged about some inequalities somewhere, or some plight of workers in Bangladesh within the fashion industry. So highlighting, blogging allows you not only to talk about the industry, to talk about your work, but it also allows you to be the voice for the industry and to be the voice for the community, and ultimately to be the voice for people that are voiceless. So when I teach blogging here on site, I love when my students choose blog topics like these. Women in the gaming industry. I mean, this is something not too many people write about. Or gentrification of the Mission District. I know you're all out of town, but gentrification is a big deal anywhere, everywhere. So keep that in mind. You can still position yourself very well in the industry if you talk about what's wrong with the industry as well. So I think that's very important thing to keep in mind. Well, let me ask you this question. What happens after you graduate? For a moment, close your eyes and imagine what will be your dream job. How can your future blog help land that dream career? Just close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself these questions. What will be your dream job? And how can the future blog help you land the dream job? Well, I hope you have some visuals coming into your head where you see a portfolio. Because this is what we're really good at doing here at Academy, is creating you a portfolio of success. And as part of that portfolio, you see your primary work, wherever that might be, fashion, styling portfolio, writing samples. Then you're going to have, and that's all physical, right, for the most part. So where is your digital presence? How are you going to brand yourself online? And I'll tell you, not a lot of other fashion schools out there, and definitely not a lot of folks that are studying, period, are thinking about making blogs as part of their overall portfolio of success. Sure, they're thinking about a LinkedIn page or maybe a Facebook page or things like that, but by having a blog, what you're really doing is you're extending yourself, whoever mentioned that, part of yourself online. Okay? So I know I talked a lot, so I want to take some questions now to see wherever you might have, and then we're going to take a very quick break and then come back and work on conceptualizing a particular blog topic for you, for each of you. So, questions? Don't be afraid, I'm very, very easygoing guy, yes?
What is your favorite blog?
A very good question. I really do love New York Times blogs. They have a directory if you just type on Google New York Times blogs, and they have a variety of topics. So, I'm a very multidisciplinary guy, and I really didn't quite introduce myself. Maybe let me just take a brief moment. I moved here from New York about a year and a half ago, where I lived in New York. I lived for about 12 years. I run and continue to do so, publish my own magazine, online and in print. I also write for the Huffington Post and for Forbes magazine. Moreover, I've been doing blogging for as long as I remember. And I always go to New York Times because my first master's was international affairs. So often I would love to read all the political blogs. And I love the pundits. They always have fun things to say. But then over time I got involved with the fashion industry. And so on the runway, it's another New York Times blog, as I'm sure you're aware, by Vanessa Friedman, is one of my favorite blogs. Another one is the T magazine, which to me, even though it's a magazine, the way they organize the information and engage with the audience almost spells out it's a magazine with a blog or a blog with a magazine. So you choose which side you want to take, but both are fantastic examples. the T magazine covers interior design and travel and architecture and fashion. So there's a variety of things, food and beauty, on all that. So there's some of my favorites. But I am, pretty open to discovering more and others that are out there, and especially underground bloggers that exist. So one resource that I highly recommend you guys check out is Reddit. I'm sure you've heard of that. And you are all laughing. But if you go to, I'm not going to click here, but when you go home and click Reddit, to me, it's kind of like a place where trends emerge, where conversations begin. So if you see something happening on Reddit under the fashion thread or style thread or lifestyle thread, and you see that that particular topic or issue is picking up steam, well, chances are there will be a good blog post to follow and conversations to follow. So these are some of the places that I would go to kind of get some of the prime information and get inspired as well.
How do you feel about voices in different blogs, like something like Man Repeller versus something more professional, like writing-wise?
I think voice is important, and it comes down to your target audience, something that we just touched upon briefly. Identifying who you're writing for, of course, is one of the hardest things to do when you're just starting out. So often I say, write for you and your friends first. That's who you know best. And from there, as you write more and more friends of friends discover you and your network expands, then with time you'll have some data to look at and say, oh, actually my audience is 50% women and 50% women and 80% women and 20% male, and that means maybe my content should be a little bit different. But I'll give you an example. If I go to Twitter, let me log in. And I look at analytics and I click my audience. I can learn a lot from the data that I would gather over time. Data like 64% of my audience are male. 60% of my audience is interested in music, comedy, and fashion. So if those are top interests, what does it mean what does that tell me as a blogger? I should be producing content that 46% of the time is about on fashion, 50% of the time is on some comedy, and then I cover music as well. So you can, with time, with right data, you can learn a lot about how to target your audience and then adapt your voice to that audience. So
like being more of a witty writer versus someone who's kind of having complete sentences all the time?
not necessarily. What you mean by voice is that you should always stick to what you and your network relates to. So that's why I said start with what you know. Write for people that you can relate to and that they can relate to you. And only then, after you've published 1,000 posts and you have all this data, then you can go back and analyze the data and decide, actually, most of my folks are between age, hypothetically, 40 and 50. Maybe my tone should not be towards a millennial, but more a little bit more more conservative in tone for that target audience. So start with yourselves and your networks and then grow from there.